What's up, flag football fans, players, and coaches? Welcome to the Biokats Weekly Flag Football Podcast. Here is your Week 6 recap of flag football action in both 5A and 4A in the beautiful state of Colorado. I'm your host, Coach Pitz. I coach at Legend High School in Parker. Special thanks to our producer, who's always out there promoting girls sports, Jerry Howard with Biokats. Let's congratulate your Denver Broncos flag football coach of the week, Aaron Waters, head coach for Poudre. He's got Poudre sitting at number 13 in the 5A seeding if the playoffs were to start today. And speaking of, let's take a look at the updated rankings with only 2 weeks left in the regular season. It is getting real now. In addition to our weekly shoutouts, we've got some bonus content as we'll take a look at the resumes of the top teams in 5A and 4A, starting with 5A. Mountain Vista sits at number 1. Their resume, dominance. All games won by 3 or more touchdowns. Arvada West and Legend are the only teams that even play with Mountain Vista into the fourth quarter of games. Arvada West at number 2. They're 9-2. They've had close games with Vista, and they've split with RV. They have 2 wins over Valor. Ralston Valley at number 3. They've split with Arvada West. They beat Valor and they lost to Cherry Creek early. Legend sits at 10-1 in the number 4 spot right now. They've had a close game with Vista into the 4th before Vista pulled away big time. They did beat Douglas County and TCA on back-to-back days this week. Sept at 9-1, decisive wins over Grandview, Cherry Creek, Rock Canyon, and Thunder Ridge. Denver South, 1-score loss to Valor early in the season, and they've had blowout wins over Mullen and Northfield. Valor sits at the 7 seed. They've lost 5 of their last 7. They are fighting an injury concern with Faith Prinzo. They've lost to Arvada West twice, Ralston Valley, Rock Canyon, and Mountain Vista after early wins over Doherty and Denver South. And Northfield sits at the 8th spot. They have only lost to Ralston Valley by 2 points, and they had a blowout loss to Denver South that was 42-0. So these scores are all over the board. Let's check out the next 8 spots. Douglas County, strong wins over Thunder Ridge and Mountain View. Very competitive loss to Legend. Cherry Creek wins over Ralston Valley and Rock Canyon. Losses to Mountain Vista, Sept, and Horizon. Rock Canyon, they're all over the place. They've had wins over Valor, Horizon, Thunder Ridge, and 2 to 3 score losses. So close, but not super close. Losses to Legend, Sept, Mountain Vista, and Grandview. Grandview nearly beat Legend. That was a one-point loss, not even a 1-score loss. They beat Rock Canyon and Thunder Ridge. Doherty sits at the 13th spot. They've had an overtime win over TCA, a huge resume builder, and a recent 7-6 loss to Vista Ridge. Poudre sits at 7-2 in the 14th spot. They lost to Mountain View and Horizon, and they've beaten North Glen. And North Glen lost to Northfield and Poudre by 2 scores. A West by 4 scores, and they beat Legacy. Thunder Ridge at the 16th spot. They beat Doherty and a close loss to Grandview. Let's take a look at the top in 4A. The Classical Academy, the number 1 spot, wins over Green Mountain, Mountain View, and Pomona. That is your most likely Final Four. Those 4 teams have pulled away in 4A. Close losses to Doherty and Legend. Pomona, the close wins over Green Mountain and Horizon, and they lost to TCA. Mountain View took TCA to overtime, which is interesting because Mountain View had a lot more to replace after last year's title game, with the Classical Academy returning most of their best players. And Mountain View did beat Legacy, Horizon, and Poudre this year. Green Mountain has lost to TCA. They lost a very close one, 25-20 to Pomona. They beat Columbine and Lakewood, and they had a blowout win over Evergreen. Denver North lost to North Glen by 2 scores, and they lost to Northfield in overtime. We'll take a look at Elizabeth at the 6th seed, sitting at 7-2. They lost big time to TCA and Doherty. They did beat Littleton by 2 scores. And Manual, almost all blowout wins, but in their toughest game, they did not compete with Thunder Ridge. And Mullen, 6-5, they did not compete early, but lately stronger. They lost to Cherry Creek by only 1 score. That was an 8-point loss. Now, let me run you through some of this week's standout performances. I'm going to start with LaKayla Byers and Kaylee Walker combining to throw 4 touchdowns to 4 different receivers for Manual in a 33-0 win over Gateway. Eden Lohman darts for 50-yard interception return as Columbine takes down CT 34-14. Senior Ella Reben assembles a concoction of 55-yard punt, 2 touchdowns thrown, 1 touchdown rushing, 1 touchdown on a pick six, and what a day for the senior. Nail-biters Littleton edges Dakota Ridge 7-6. Those extra points make or break more games. Littleton's defense steps up to slow a solid Dakota Ridge offense. Emery Bowman gets a mention 2 straight weeks on the podcast, 10 tackles this time and 4 sacks. Sierra Wilson, the difference maker for the Lions, as she throws for over 100 yards and runs for the game-winning touchdown. Air Academy airs it out in their 33-0 win over Colorado Springs Christian. Nadia Anderson completes passes of 60, 55, and 50, with Eden Griffiths hauling in the 60-yarder. And how about Samantha Hopmeyer snagging 9 tackles plus 2 interceptions for Air Academy? Chaparral takes care of TJ 33-0 in a game they easily could have dropped 70 points. Zoe Fink creates 4 touchdown passes, throwing 2 of them to multi-sport standout Salem Sherman. Arapahoe gives Clara Reynolds a stab at the quarterback position, but it's a grind against Ralston Valley. The RV Mustangs win 20-0. 68% of Kalen Corcus's 255 yards passing go to standout receiver Ashley Callahan. Linnea Clint Robinson rushes for almost 100 yards and 3 touchdowns as Vista Peak Prep beats Denver West 40-0. Thunder Ridge is not able to score against Regis's shutdown man-to-man defense. Regis wins 13-0. Olivia Nelson helps Elizabeth take down the Vanguard School 13-0. She works for 10 tackles, and Annabelle Nelson hauls in a 51-yard score to pull this one, put this one away. And a top 5A game with a potential league championship on the line. Ralston Valley versus Valor Christian for the Eagles. Standout two-way freshman Grace Marino scores both touchdowns. Unusual game for Valor in that Faith Prinzo only threw the ball 18 times, and her sister Savannah, who's usually a receiver, passed it 18 times. I believe Faith suffered a leg injury. I'm hoping it's not serious, but it seems Valor has not really been themselves at all this week. On the video, it's hard to tell because I thought Faith came out and came back in. I think she's battling a leg injury. Freshman Noah Harrison rushes for 128 yards and a touchdown as Palmer beats Fountain Fort Carson 18-0. But I'll go back to Valor here. We'll talk more about the Prinzo situation in a bit. Madison Villata picks off 2 passes for Horizon in their 20-6 win over Eagle Ridge Academy. Standout Pomona quarterback Jake Cordova has a day against Golden. 4 touchdowns thrown plus 1 on the ground, nearly 300 all-purpose yards plus 4 tackles for this future college flag football player. Caitlin Fujinami for North Glen blows up the scoreboard with 7 touchdowns and a 140 QB rating and a 67-0 win over Skyview. Evelyn James, a hat trick on defense with 3 interceptions. Leah James, a hat trick on offense with 3 touchdowns, plus she grabs 2 picks. Normally, Iris Duran takes all the snaps for Denver South, but in their 19-0 win over Regis, Kate Lindwell steps in to throw 2 touchdowns. Dylan Moyer, 102 yards receiving, and catches both of those 2 touchdowns for Denver South. Freshman Nadia Anderson again throws 4 touchdowns in a 33-22 Air Academy shootout win over Fountain Fort Carson. Ariana Akey accounts for 8 total touchdowns in Vista's 53-14 win over Rock Canyon. 3 of her 7 touchdown passes go to Braylon Looney. Akey, triple-digit passing yards, triple-digit running yards, and double-digit tackles. Junior Haley Helwig is a name we have not mentioned yet this year for Colorado Springs Christian. She passes and runs for scores to help them beat Coronado 14-12. It was the usual combo of Plumley to Van Gilder for 3 touchdowns as Green Mountain pulls away from Lakewood. Savannah Plumley throws for 233 yards and runs for 108 yards for Lakewood. Caroline Bain, another 100-yard receiving day. In a top 5A, top 10 matchup, Douglas County jumps out to an early lead against Legend. Standout quarterback Jillian Cabral is able to run for almost 100 yards for the Huskies. Sophomore Adeline Stubbs, 2 touchdowns for the Huskies, but Legend answers. Maddie Smolin with over 300 yards passing. Eva Pipkin is a deep threat with 142 yards receiving. Lucy Thompson, 2 touchdowns for Legend, including another circus grab in the back of the end zone to add to her highlight reel season. Legend wins 27-12. Olivia Martinez picks off 3 Denver South passes as Vista Peak Prep nearly knocks off Denver South. South wins 14-13. Freshman Ty McPherson scores 6 and grabs a pick for Bruce Randolph in a 12-6 win over TJ. Ali Garcia tosses 5 touchdowns in a 42-0 Northfield rout over Denver East. 2 more touchdowns to Caroline Cummings, and Cummings also picks off 3 more passes in this one as a leading receiver and defender. Morgan Darlington rushes for 101 yards and 2 scores as Denver North shuts out Lincoln 34-0. Brooke Pravlik and Lainey Matson both throw 3 touchdowns for Poudre in their 72-0 win over Gateway. And a quick turnaround for Legend to then host TCA on Thursday. Titans versus Titans. The TCA Titans come out swinging. They score on 3 straight drives to open the game, and in this top 5 matchup, Legend found itself down early 19-7. Kelsey Peterson was throwing lasers for TCA. She's incredibly accurate. She finds Ellie Baldini for 110 yards. She finds Brooklyn Blair for 75 yards and 2 scores. And she finds two-way standout athlete Reagan Harder for 98 yards and a score. This was a shootout. Another 300-yard passing game for Smolin. How's the arm feeling, Maddie? She had 630 yards passing in 24 hours. Another 100-yard receiving game for Pipkin. Another 2-touchdown performance for Lucy Thompson, 152 yards receiving. Noel Ho for Legend grabs the interception to swing momentum, and Raya Matouche with a pick 6 to seal it. Legend wins 35-25. Tess Heater with a long pick 6 to help Air Academy pull away from Coronado 39-6, which brings us to Mountain Vista at Valor. Faith Prinzo did play in this one. She moved the ball well for Valor, almost 300 yards passing, but when Vista turns you over, they can score. They strike so quickly. 4 interceptions for the Golden Eagles. Valor cannot get any first half stops, and this one's over by the second quarter. Vista wins 54-6. I asked the Lakewood coach on Friday night who stood out from his perspective. He's someone I used to coach basketball with. Without hesitation, he says Jay Cordova from Pomona. Lakewood had played them pretty tough the night before. It was just 8-0 Pomona at the half. The Panthers pull away late to win 30-0. Cordova 124 yards passing. Means she didn't do very much, right? Well, she runs for 175 yards. That's 399 total for our math peeps. Timberly Martinez, 81 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. Horizon with a big league win over Poudre. Isabella Hoffman with 2 touchdowns for the Hawks. Fujinami again for North Glen. She does just enough with 273 all-purpose yards to help them beat Legacy by the slimmest of margins, 19-18. Another Green Mountain game, another Plumley to Van Gilder Clinic. 6 touchdowns thrown for Plumley and 4 go to Van Gilder. Ella Cockrum, 10 tackles and another interception. Scarlett Thompson picks off 3 passes for the Rams. I feel like every week I'm talking about Ella Cockrum grabbing more interceptions for the Rams. In a defensive battle with 9 interceptions in the game, Ashlyn Bates is able to grab 3 of those to help Golden beat Lakewood 27-7. And with Zoe Fink at quarterback for Shap, anything is possible for that team. She throws for 425 yards. 425 yards. Runs for 32 more, and Shap takes down Rock Canyon 32-12. Paige Fink, 92 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. Sutton Persakina, 111 yards and a score. Chloe Petrillo, another 10 tackle, 2 interception day to help lead the Wolverine defense. Faith Prinzo battling this injury is changing everything for Valor. I don't have the stats for Valor on this one, but the final score versus Arvada West looks close at 33-21, but this one was almost all A West early. Emerson Drake throws 4 touchdowns, 298 yards. Her usual targets, all hard to stop. Santana Pena, 90 yards, 1 touchdown. Lindley McReynolds, 139 yards, 1 touchdown. Alexis Mays, 34 yards, 2 touchdowns. Harper Tillman, 13 tackles and an interception for the Wildcats defense. Grandview's creative offense can't be stopped early versus Arapahoe. They win 32-12. Brooks Sullivan, 278 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Abby Kirkpatrick runs for 66 yards and throws for a touchdown on a halfback pass. Cadence Thomas is a stud for Grandview with 98 yards receiving, a touchdown, an interception, and a 30-yard punt return. Booyah, what a great week. So I don't go too long. We'll look at the offensive leaders across the state this week and the defensive leaders next week. I want to shout out all of Colorado's 1,000-yard passers and 500-yard receivers. Faith Prinzo, Maddie Smolin, Emerson Drake, Ariana Akey, Zoe Fink, Kaylin Corcus, and Savannah Plumley, and Riley Berquist, all over 2,000 yards passing with still 2 weeks to play in the season. That is a dangerous list. You throw in the rest of this top 14, Sailor Slaughter, Allie Garcia, Brooks Sullivan, Kelsey Peterson, Iris Duran, and Caitlin Fujinami, and any of these 14 quarterbacks can lead their team to a deep run or potentially a league championship. We'll talk more about the league races next week as well, but as we position themselves for the playoffs, it takes elite quarterback play, and look at these top 14 who've all thrown for 1,000 yards. I've got 14 more here. Check out this slide. But before I get to the rest of the 1,000-yard passers, look at the passer rating on the right side of the screen. Faith Prinzo, 123. Maddie Smolin, 113. Look at these numbers, 43 touchdowns and 11 picks. Look at Akey, 49 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, a 117 rating. Zoe Fink's only been picked off 3 times all year with 34 touchdowns, a 123 rating. 109 rating for Iris Duran, Caitlin Fujinami, 109. And let's go to the next page. You're going to see down the list at 23, Addie Beck. Not as many yards. I don't think they've gotten their stats in as quickly as some other teams, but she's sitting at a 99 passer rating on the season. And Kaylee Walker from Manual, 110 passer rating. I'm going to go back up to the top of the list. I know I'm a little bit ADD in the way I jump around on things, but just excited to talk about all these kids. Claire Wilson at Thunder Ridge, almost 1,700 yards. Sadie Goodwin has had a year. Kira Knowles leading Mountain View. Very good chance. They're one of the favorites to get to the Final Four in 4A. Maddie Walcott's got a cannon. She was on the news the other day for a 60-some yard deep touchdown pass. Reagan Clem, the Vanguard School. Lacey Antonora. Ella Reban's been crushing it. Jay Cordova is a stud. She's got a passer rating in the 90s. I mentioned Addie Beck. Elsie Walker Coronado, Kaylee Walker Manuel, Jillian Cabral, Douglas County. She is outstanding with both her arm and with what she can do on the ground. Nadia Anderson is just a freshman 1,000-yard passer, and Whitney Fulger just a sophomore for Arapahoe. Let's look at 500-yard receivers. These first two are over 1,000 yards already. Marissa Van Gilder and Lucy Thompson from Green Mountain and Legend, respectively. Holy moly. Marissa over 100 yards per game. There's a lot of quarterbacks who don't throw 100 yards per game. And Lucy Thompson is your state's leader in yards per game, 124. 20 touchdowns for her, 23 for Van Gilder. Ashlyn Callahan knocking on 1,000. Savannah Prinzo will be at 1,000 very soon. Caroline Cummings is a touchdown machine. Lindley McReynolds. Goretti Vasquez de Leon for Vista Peak Prep is exploding. Braylon Looney can do it all. 17 tutties for that Vista standout at center. Caroline Bain, Kaylee Besh, Santana Pena, the speed demon, and Evelyn James from North Glen putting up highlight reel numbers lately. And the next group of 500-yard passers, 500-yard receivers. Jenna Lee from Chatfield has double-digit touchdowns. Vanessa Rodriguez, North Glen. Madison Villada, Dylan Moyer, Eva Pipkin. She's done it on only 27 receptions, which means she averages over 20 yards per catch. Abby Kirkpatrick, Grandview. Jessica Hopkins, Mountain View. She's another do-it-all player. She can throw, catch, she can defend. Jordan Cochran, same thing. She was a quarterback last year. Now she's a leading receiver. Shelby Colosimo, Ralston Valley. Asia Daniels, I'll see her this week with Denver South with our matchup with them. And Brooklyn Blair from TCA is a stud. So check out the games this week. They're going to be a playoff type atmosphere as we're only 2 weeks away from playoffs. Teams are fighting for that positioning in the seeding, fighting for potential league championships. Monday night, Poudre and Monarch. Green Mountain, Chatfield. These two teams met a lot in the summer league and know each other pretty well. This is going to be intense. Mullen, Columbine. Tuesday, Northfield Vista Peak Prep. Manual versus Denver North are sitting on a 19-3 combined record. Grandview versus Overland, Air Academy, and Elizabeth. Wednesday, Denver South versus Legend, both sitting on a 10-1 record. Rock Canyon versus Douglas County, Ralston Valley, Chatfield, TCA and Vista Ridge, and Mountain View taking on North Glen. And let's skip ahead to Saturday, Legacy and Horizon, Chatfield versus Columbine, big rivalry game Saturday. Cherry Creek, Arapahoe, a rivalry game. Lakewood versus Denver North, and Green Mountain versus Arvada West, top 4 in 4A versus top 4 in 5A to end the week. I think it's a 2 p.m. game Saturday. Check that out. All right. Next week, defensive leaders and league race updates. Coaches, I pull stats from Max Preps Sunday mornings at 7 a.m. to prepare for this weekly podcast. Is there corrections? I think I added Cordova's mentally added her numbers incorrectly. Any other comments? Be nice to me. I'll do the best that I can. I'm just like the coaches and players. We're all just trying to do our best and do a little bit better the next week than we did the prior week. Follow us at HoopsTracker, Coach_Pitz at the Biokats. Spread the word on what these awesome kids are doing. Thank you for listening. Thanks for sharing the podcast and growing the enthusiasm for this awesome sport. We'll see you next week.